Power 2 here on College Football Addiction. TJ Pittinger, Cole Thompson, Tom Hannifan. And boys, unfortunately, we're done with football for quite a while. NFL's done. College has been done for a minute. We do have the CFL, the UFL, like all that stuff is coming. European football, does that come? But
it's alive, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. The Olympics are on. That's exciting. I don't know how much you guys care about the World Cup, but that's coming this summer in the U.S.
World Baseball Classic is coming here in just very soon, so we got that.
There's stuff happening. March Madness is fun. College basketball, I don't care. But March Madness is fun. And then baseball, softball. So there's some stuff. But yeah, it's a depressing time. But how are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Now that I've started out on that note.
The attempt to console yourself, I respect. All the tweets I'm seeing today about, hey, baseball's starting and spring training starting. I don't care. No one got saying that hey, that's ending, but another great thing's beginning. It's no, you are America's bronze medal. Congratulations. That's happening soon if you care about pitchers and catchers reporting. I don't care. I'm sad. I've been sad since the college football playoff ended. And frankly, I've been sad since the FCS championship ended, which was the greatest game of all time. Montana State, Illinois State here in Nashville. It was incredible. So, yeah, now we begin the sad times, and we have to wait it out until actual news begins. Because January was insane in college football. Now, February, it feels like everybody's kind of calmed down just a little bit.
You know what I'm sad about? That last night, as we all watched the Seattle Seahawks clinch their second Super Bowl title in franchise history, it ended the joke that we have loved for the last 2 months. That Notre Dame would have beaten both of those teams. We don't know what it is. Now we got to throw it to the wayside because we know that now the season's over.
So, yeah, I'm with you. I haven't really cared about the MLB for a minute. I mean, I'll flip the Rays on in the background at times. I do like college baseball. It's an FSU thing. They're not, they're good, but it's not even we're so elite.
So there you go. You're fine.
Yeah, they're fun. But it's more so tied to the university that you should. I'm not diehard college baseball by any means. I don't really watch any other games. So, that's something. But yeah, I don't know. Tom's right. I'm just consoling myself and lying to myself. I will like the World Cup.
Yeah,
I'll watch the hockey Olympics. In some of the other. Okay, on the Olympics, this is not why people tune in today. I'm sure you've watched the downhill skiing, which is pretty exciting just in and of itself.
Yeah.
Have you seen the drone footage that literally follows right behind the person? It is the most unreal vantage point of, I'm prisoner of the moment here, but of many sporting events that I've ever seen. It is so cool because when they're showing it from this wide angled camera and you just kind of see them going around these turns, that's cool, whatever. Actually following them down the mountain is the coolest thing I've seen so far in the Olympics. So I don't know. Again, very minor consolation to not having football, but it's at least something.
Well, Lindsey Vonn got hurt on the opening day.
Yeah.
So it's upsetting because of part of the thing that I was so excited to see was a 41-year-old with one torn ACL be able to deliver. And it literally took less than 13 seconds for that to come to an end.
We did win the gold medal in the one she got hurt, the event that she got hurt in, we won the gold medal in that anyway. So shout out to us.
Did she win gold and did the other one win fourth place or did they get second place?
No, I think we were first and fourth in that one. So yeah, I also, as an American, just cheer for the medal count.
Right.
That's why we're here. That's why we show up.
You all suck. We're better than you and everything. You deserve to rot in hell because we're awesome.
I love how talented Mike Tirico is because he can do the Super Bowl stuff and then he can do a hit before the post game stuff of hey, here's what's going on with the Olympics, and he can present it to you in a way that's so you should really care about the bobsled or something like that. God, I don't care. The Olympics literally for the most part took the other 30 some odd sports that we really don't care about. And they're what if we put nationalism with that? So that would make you care about, downhill ski shooting or something like that. And it's cool. That helps me a little bit, but it's you're going to love the story of Bob Holger-Schmerter from North Dakota and everything he's done to get to this bronze medal.
Well, don't you dare disrespect the North Dakotians right now because they're going through some things this morning.
That's a great transition there. So North Dakota State to the Mountain West. I'll put this up on a tee. Who wants to take it?
I was just taking a look at the Mountain West teams for 2026 as it stands now, because I think that's an important holistic thing to look at. So you've got Air Force, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, Northern Illinois will also be football only. North Dakota State football only in 2026, plus San Jose State, plus UNLV, UTEP, and Wyoming. If I'm not mistaken, UNLV won this conference last year with Dan Mullen. Northern Illinois joining is certainly some competition. What New Mexico and Jason Eck were able to do last year was very impressive within the conference. So I think there's going to be some healthy competition. Whether North Dakota State shows up and immediately wins the Mountain West, that remains to be seen. I think there is that pipe dream of, well, if they win the Mountain West and they look really impressive, do they become the group of five or a group of five representative in the college football playoff in 2 years, 2026? Like
in 2 years, because remember, they have that band where they can't be
stupid. Okay, so thank you for correcting me. That's the stupidest thing ever. It's like, you're in the conference, so you should be able to compete for postseason play immediately if you're playing immediately in 2026. I don't understand it.
It feels like gatekeeping.
It's just silly. Like, give me the reason why.
So I got a reply on Twitter. And I don't, 95% of things that happen on that app are fake and don't.
Actual. Gotcha.
But somebody said, and this tracks, this makes sense. Somebody said back in the day, it was when teams were moving up a level, it was because they didn't have the same number of scholarship requirements. It was, you went from 65 scholarships to 85. And now, obviously, that number is even higher, I think, at 105. It's kind of an outdated rule because with the transfer portal, you can move rosters around a lot faster than you could maybe back in the day. But so the logic on that, and that may very well be the reason, I don't know, maybe somebody can correct us in the comments. The logic on that still doesn't even make sense to me. If a team can go out and with 65 scholarship players, if they're expected to compete in 12 games like everyone else is, if they can go out and win more games than you with 65 scholarship players as opposed to your 85 or somewhere between that 65 and 85 the year they made the jump, if they can do more with less, why are we penalizing them for doing that, right? And so, listen, when Texas and Ohio State, or not Ohio State, Oregon and Washington and Oklahoma and all these teams jump from the Big 12 to the SEC or the Big 10, yeah, obviously that's not a change in, it is a change in level, but it's not a change in like division. So they didn't have to sit out. To me, it should be, man, if you're in a conference, just go play. When Liberty went from the FCS to FBS, they were independent, but they weren't able to compete they weren't eligible for a bowl that first year, which again makes no sense to me. I don't know why that rule exists. Maybe somebody smarter than us in the comments can tell us like what the real purpose of that is, but it really just truly does feel like gatekeeping.
I'm in a weird spot when it comes to this move because on one hand, it does feel like a slap in the face to the FCS level and to the future of what is supposed to be a great competition that we just witnessed a national championship at, and you're losing a premier program. But on the other side, maybe this is what helps you retain as much talent as possible. So I'll put it in from both perspectives. I don't like this for the North Dakota State program because they are now competing in the Mountain West for what? A shot to go to the college football playoff at the national stage and get embarrassed on public television. Is that really what you want? Maybe a 9-win season? Maybe to say, yeah, we were the best team in the Mountain West and we beat UTEP and we beat New Mexico when Jason Eck gets another job. And that, we went 9-3 and we got to 10 wins and we beat up on a team that probably no one ever thought that we could. Okay, that's one way to put it, but you're not winning a national championship. Where at the FCS level, you're a dynasty. You're one of the pillar programs of that industry. You are always viewed as a forefront, can't miss. You're going to be the number one seed in the postseason every single year. And you look at like a team like Delaware that made the jump on up and Sam Houston that made the jump on up. They've had success, but I just ask you, what do you think the fans would want? To say that we play at the FBS level and maybe we bring in a few more millions of dollars, or we are the face of the FCS level where we're claiming national titles, and that's going to convince kids to stay close to home. But then on the flip side, the way that I think of it is, well, nowadays with NIL and with the transfer portal being so rampant and there not being any regulation behind it, all the talent that we see from the FCS level that kills it goes to the next stages to the FBS because if somebody's willing to pay on the dotted line. And so I look at it from that standpoint, I say, Well, for a program like North Dakota State that has been a pioneer at the FCS, we've been talking about them at nonstop vicinity. They have been in multiple national championships. They won a national title 2 years ago down in Frisco. A part of me is like, now they can utilize this going to the Mountain West and playing at the FBS level to retain as much talent as possible and maybe be able to build a good foundation in place that allows them to be the terror of the Mountain West, of this new day and age of college football. And they get their NIL ducks in order, and they're able to retain some players. And that does help them benefit from losing names to say, you at the FCS level to go to a New Mexico, go to a San Diego State, go to a Washington State. Programs that maybe you feel like that on paper you're better than, but they have that FBS nation with it. And so that carries a little bit of weight. It's a lose for me because I just would rather see North Dakota State be one of those premier teams alongside Sam Houston and Delaware and Appalachian State as programs that we talked about being ones that were winning at the highest level at the FCS. But at the same time, that's the college football that I loved, not the college football that I'm now seeing. And so from a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. There's so many conflicting feelings, I think, from the fan base perspective and then the actual resources, allocation, and what is supposed to be perspective.
I push back on the, like in the short term, are you going to see the same success that you were having the last few years? No. And it's kind of like, well, what's the point in doing it? This is definitely something where you're looking 5, 10, 15 years down the track. Sure. And thinking about, hey, the Mountain West is our home for now. And if we can grow and we can get the right resources, maybe we can jump to a larger conference, a P4, and just see where the path takes you. But yeah, there's something to being the, tallest person in a room full of short people, that sort of thing, or and it's nothing against the FCS, but it's like, hey, you're dominating at this level and you're electing to take a step up in competition because you want to play the best within the sport. They are a dynasty. Can they be a dynasty within the Mountain West? Can they be a dynasty within another conference in major FBS football at some point in time? So the business side of it makes a ton of sense. But yeah, like if you have that opportunity to just sit tight and keep doing what you've been doing and you're good with that, then do that. They made the choice. I think it's a fair decision to make overall. It's disappointing, I think, for their fans of like, yeah, if you've been entitled a little bit and you expect North Dakota State to either be in the championship game or compete for the championship game every single year, this is going to be a bit of a shock to the system. But I'm really curious to see how this changes because there is money in FCS. There's been money in FCS, and you just never know where these donors pop up and they want to promote their program into the stratosphere. There was I believe a very wealthy multimillionaire from the state of Wyoming is the reason that Montana Football Stadium is named. So there's people in all corners of the world that want to see their football program elevated to another level. So we just have to see where the Bison go.
I would be very intrigued seeing how many other teams that if they continue to win at the highest level follow in these footsteps. If North Dakota State proves that they can win and they can keep their same trajectory that they were already at the FCS level, at the Mountain West level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's going to take some time, but Cole hit it on the high. I mean, ultimately, your greatest resource in this sport is players. And, college football, in a purist stance, like we would change a lot of the things that happen with college football right now. And we'd probably just go back to like 2005 and say, give us exactly what you were doing in 2005. And I'd be thrilled. Right. But we're moving away from that. And so, I'd love to hear if, North Dakota State fans end up finding this clip or finding this video. I'd love to hear what they think. But ultimately, you have to be real with the situation of, can you keep players home? And with enough investment, you certainly can. But like, would they ever have, like if Texas A&M or Texas Tech or, Oregon, Ohio State, Miami, if one of those teams wants to get in a bidding war, like, is North Dakota State really keeping them home? Is that really happening? And so I think it is forward thinking. And I think, you think about like, talking about the World Cup, you think about like in club soccer, teams can win the second division But man, their fans are thrilled when they get to go up to that first division and compete against the best. And I think that's an aspect of it that the fans will enjoy, is truly competing against the best out there and being able to schedule, buy games in stadiums that you would never get to play in, right? Like,
Sure.
And everybody knows when a team goes up to the first level, like they're not going to go out there and beat Real Madrid or Barcelona or Manchester United, but they get to go compete in those stadiums and they get to kind of be on that level. And 20 years from now, when the landscape changes, like Tom said, this is a decision that's really taking in mind the next 10 or 15 years. 20 years from now, some team in the second division in Spain could theoretically compete with, maybe not those top 2 teams in Spain, but maybe some of the better teams in Spanish football or British, European, different leagues all over the place. And I think that's where it is forward thinking, and it is, we got to stop getting robbed left and right of our players. We went to that game the other day. We went to that game last month. And what did we immediately start seeing? Transfer notifications coming through
right after
Macos about Montana State, Iowa State, or Illinois State. And so, I do think that there would be something to staying down at that level and continuing to dominate it. I also want, the elephant in the room is most people that run college football do not care about the average fan like me or you, or the average fan that sits in a stadium at North Dakota State. And it is a dollars and cents thing. I don't know what their TV media rights deal was with in the FCS level. I'd imagine, though Mountain West doesn't compare anything to like the Big Four, I'm assuming they make quite a bit more money now from their TV rights negotiations and deals and stuff. So let's be honest, that's what most administrators care about is the money that's coming in. And though I wish college football wasn't driven by that, that's ultimately the world we live in.
If you're telling me, though, that I get more North Dakota State games from Fargo on CBS Sports Network come Friday and Saturday night and every once in a while on a Thursday, sign me up. I am very excited to go ahead and see what the Bison can do because they're a fun team and it's a fun stadium.
And to be fair, it's not like teams weren't already poaching great talent from North Dakota State from the levels of FBS because they've been a dynasty for so long in FCS. They've been on everybody's radar. I think it's ultimately going to balance itself out because now you can offer a kid and say, hey, this is a FBS opportunity in the Mountain West as opposed to this is an FCS opportunity. It'll balance itself out. As much as you'll be more so on the radar of the bigger programs, you already were. The world is small. If Alabama is getting on a private jet to go and recruit talent out of the state of Hawaii, for crying out loud, they can come find you at North Dakota State.
Can either of you guys tell me who was the leading rusher in 2024 for North Dakota State?
I cannot. No.
I'll give you a hint. You just saw him play in the national championship. Shamar Brown.
Oh, dang.
I don't even know that. No.
That's what I'm saying is that like the level of talent that like just because of you start off at the FCS level doesn't mean you can't end up panning on out and winning a national title at the FBS level because he nearly did both after back-to-back years.
Let's talk a little bit about, Cole, we'll come to you, Joey Aguilar in this Tennessee situation. Yes or no right now? Is he the quarterback game 1 for the Vols next year?
If the season were to start today, yeah, the answer would be 100%. He's starting week 1. And that's a good thing, I think, for Tennessee because Tennessee was in this very, really risky area of how do we go about the quarterback situation? And ultimately, I want to make this abundantly clear. What we know right now is that the TRO has been granted. It's a restraining order that allows Joey Aguilar to be at practice, go through offseason workouts as they continue to work through what is the eligibility waiver claim because if he played at the junior college, basically following the same path as Diego Pavia. I don't know what's going to come of it. My gut intuition, based off of where things are trending toward, Joey Aguilar is going to get 1 more year of eligibility, and by all means, that is a blessing in disguise for Tennessee. Because Tennessee is one of these weird programs that you don't really know what to think about them until they figure out what's going to be starting off at QB1. And that doesn't mean that you can't trust Faison Randall, the 5-star phenom. That doesn't mean you can't trust George McIntyre. But let's just call it as is. In the SEC, whenever you have a veteran presence and you're moving to a 9-game conference schedule, it makes you feel a lot more confident about the direction of your program. And Joey Aguilar did have a lot of ups last season. He led Tennessee and the SEC in passing yards. He finished top 3 in passing touchdowns. He finished top 3 in passer rating. He had multiple 300-plus yard passing performances. And this was with a guy who was learning the offense on the fly after not being on campus for all the spring. So if you give him another 15 spring practices on top of those 15 extra practices that he got for the bowl game, and on top of another year of reps, by the time that we get to the end of next season and you got Vanderbilt taking on Tennessee at First Bank Stadium, where Tom will play host to you and me, and we'll all go out there and enjoy a jolly good time. Like, we're talking about probably Tennessee with a revamped defense underneath your new coordinator and Jim Knowles and a lot of good pieces being in that conversation for a college football playoff bid, or at least being one of those sneaky dark horses that if they win this game, they're going to put themselves in a position to where they're probably going to be considered one of those last kind of second names that are going to get some nods for the playoff bid. So, right now it's all still up in the air. I think that it's a good thing that you get that eligibility with that TRO passing, but if the season were to start today, Joey Aguilar's your QB. And I think that Joey Aguilar, as of this point, is going to be your QB when you break camp come spring.
Tom, do you have any concerns about what this may do from an eligibility standpoint, like everywhere? Like, will coaches... Okay, so here's my fear. And I hope that Joey does get the waiver because I like watching good football, and I think Tennessee will be better with him, and so I'm all for it. Why would you ever recruit? Now, a Jeremiah Smith type, a Reuben Bain type. Yeah, there are guys out there that you're going to recruit. Why would you ever recruit high school now if you're a coach? Like, why would you not just recruit the JUCO ranks if you're going to get them for 4 more years? Because 2 years of, and again, you're absolutely elite high school guys. Yes, they will still get recruited. But if I get 2 years of a kid being in a junior college versus a 17-year-old freshman 3-star, I'm going to the JUCO level like 6 out of 7 days, just because I don't know. It feels like if this was to be ruled in Joey's favor, it could certainly open up the floodgates to change the way that high school recruiting happens right now.
There is a symbiotic relationship between coaches and scouts, whether it be the scouts that actively work for the teams or scouts that work for these sites like 24/7 Sports, On3, whatever you want to call it. And there's still elements of contracts where if you bring in a 5-star player, you get a bonus. But then it also behooves that scout to rate someone as 3 or 4 or 5 stars, because then it makes them more of a destination human. Like, you need to seek this person out to find the best talent. So I think as long as that flawed system exists, then you're still going to see people going and recruiting out of high school, which is the challenge, because we just got done talking about this Indiana team of, oh my goodness, like they didn't have any 5 stars and they hardly had any 4 stars, but it's been proven that doesn't really matter. That was even alluded to with the Super Bowl teams, and that I think the Seahawks had like 12 4 stars out of high school or something like that, and the number of 5 stars was really minimal. Like, there is no clear path to success, but development is always going to matter. It's just a matter of where it happens. So I say all this to say about the coaches and the scouts is that you have to ask yourself if the upper echelon of the sport is going to put more stock in a coach that they know and trust, who's actively working with the player, whether it be the JUCO level, D3, FCS, whatever, or a scout that gets a little bit of a bump because they're like, well, I'm going to get this guy a 5-star because I think he's a 5-star, or I'm assuming he's a 5-star because these brands have interest in him, so he must be a 4 or 5-star. So I think you have an inherently flawed system that the recruiting world is still dealing with, and we still all get hung up on because we're all talking about, the ranks of the recruiting class, and it's based on star ratings, and it's based on, okay, well, who's providing that rating? There's a lot of elements that we could go into, I think, in terms of recruiting, but I think at this point, yeah, like the transfer portal is becoming maybe the easier way to handle this, and at the same time, you still need contracts. You still need contracts to try and keep people in line. And really, I've said it before, the NCAA regulations of what makes you eligible, what doesn't make you eligible, who can play, who can't play, like, it's become so amorphous, and the NCAA and the CSC have so little power anymore. I'm just wondering, how much longer are we all really going to put up with this charade?
To me, though, the one thing I will say, and this is where I will push back on TJ about Joey getting the nod. I'm okay with Joey getting the nod if Trinidad Chambliss gets the nod.
Yeah.
If neither gets the nod, then I'm okay with the two. But like, I just don't, and I understand you could say, well, one went to the JUCO route, and one went to the Division II route. Right, but now we're going through bygones be bygones about not playing at the FBS level, not playing at the highest level of college football. Okay? So The thing for me, though, that I really want to see is there be some sort of traction in place before we get to the end of the transfer portal period. Because Tennessee was in a lose-lose situation potentially here. Because if here's the loss of the first way, they don't bring in anybody. They don't target anybody because they go throughout the entire offseason with the intent of having Joey Aguilar as their quarterback. He doesn't get the TRO. Then they're told, oh, well, with this roster in a year that you're expected to do better with, you have to start a young quarterback that you may not be comfortable with playing. Okay, so now that hurts our chances going into next season. And on the flip side, there's the conversation of, well, you bring in Bo Pabula for a recruiting visit. Well, he doesn't sign with you, but maybe he does. You bring in Sam Levitt for a recruiting visit. And Lane Kiffin goes and he flies to Knoxville and he gets him to come on back down to Baton Rouge and sign at the dotted line, and that's fine. But maybe he doesn't because of Josh Heupel is able to convince him. And then you get the news after you sign Sam Levitt that Joey Aguilar is eligible to play for Tennessee. He's not eligible to play for another school, just Tennessee, because if you went through the process, but you just paid a bucket load of money to Sam Levitt to be your starting quarterback. Like, there needs to be a limit of when you can get this done because of teams have got to prepare for not just the immediate future, but for the long-term future. And part of that long-term future could be getting a guy that will be here for 2 years. Like, I credit Ole Miss being proactive and going out and landing a Deuce Knight, who's from the state of Mississippi and was looking at Notre Dame before eventually he went to Auburn and then wanted to come on home. And at least that gives you a good even playing field of somebody with high upside. But what if you're Tennessee and you don't feel like right now you don't get that with George McIntyre and you don't get that with Faison Randall, and you wasted a year and you went 7-10, you went 7-5.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the issue. So it's like there just needs to be a limitation and a deadline on when this can get done. And the NCAA needs to work on that. That's not Tennessee's fault. That's not the state of Tennessee's fault. This is something that needs to be put in motion because of what the NCAA is doing. So that way we can get the transfer portal and you can actually make some moves. Because Tennessee may end up being very lucky that they get Joey Aguilar back. Because right now, it looked like that they were getting either a true freshman or a redshirt freshman starting week 1.
Yeah, I agree with you on the precedent that it sets. It's very hard. Now, this is not out of the realm of possibilities because you see states do different things all the time. It would surprise me if the state of Tennessee or, the county, I guess that the case was filed in, it would surprise me if that judge ended up ruling in Joey's favor and we didn't kind of get like a mirror situation in Mississippi. Like, it would surprise me if they ruled different ways, but that's not outside of the realm of possibilities. Like, that's not like absolutely absurd that you would have two different judges view things different ways and court cases be laid out. And like you said, are we splitting hairs on Division II versus JUCO? Probably, but could that be why one judge sees things differently than the other? Absolutely. I do think that whatever happens in the Aguilar case should probably, because of fairness, be the precedent that's set. I think that's kind of the way that we should move forward. I don't know that I have a really strong opinion one way or the other on what I think is fair or not fair when it comes to Aguilar. Ultimately he's played 6 years of football. A certain number of them were at a certain level where he could make money and a certain level were at a level that honestly couldn't make money due to, how NIL works and the levels of marketability that there are. That said, people could argue, well, shoot, I just got, you could take that argument and you could flesh that out to say, man, I got in on NIL's first year and I was a freshman then. And that's really my right to make money is less than, mine is now as a 5th year player. So I don't know, man, you could have so many slippery slopes with this that it's just unreal. I would love to get to a point, and I don't know that we're anywhere close to it. Again, contracts. We talk about this all the time. I don't know that we're very close to getting to a standardized set of rules. And so I don't know. You're probably going to see this every offseason. I agree with Cole, though. Yeah, like getting stuff done before we get to February would be ideal. But I don't know, man. The wheels of justice turn slowly, I guess. And so I don't know that that's realistic either.
What does this also say about Tennessee football as a whole and the fact that, your 2026 season, if you got Joey Aguilar back, it's cool. If you didn't, oof. What does this say about Josh Heupel and the way that his team has been building itself?
Let's see what you're made of as a quarterback whisperer, and let's see what you're made of as a developer of talent at the most important position. Because again, think this out. He had 2 quarterbacks that were transfer portal additions in Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker. and then he gets his homegrown talent in Nico Iamaleava, and they were good defensively, and it was good enough to get you to 10-2 and in the playoff, but your offense stalled outside the rushing attack with Dylan Sampson, and last season you go back out in the portal, you get yourself a proven guy, he ends up hitting his stride, but you kind of underwhelmed by going 8-4 and don't beat a single team with a winning record, and now there's some fans out in Knoxville who are not happy with Josh Heupel. I think it's stupid. I think it's absolutely asinine for anyone to think that what Josh Heupel has done out in Neyland Stadium is anything less than impressive. Because I don't think a lot of people realize just how bad Tennessee was after Philip Fulmer decided to call it a career and how good the expectations are for a program like Tennessee. But if you didn't have Joey Aguilar back, there's going to be a lot of people looking at Faison Randall and looking at George McIntyre and saying, if they don't pan on out, you're not fired in 2026, but 2027 is going to be a year that we're going to remember for either all the good or all the bad reasons with you.
Especially with their investment level. Didn't they just hire Indiana strength and conditioning coach? They just hired Jim Knowles. Now, to maybe play devil's advocate to myself a little bit on the investment level, there are some people that aren't super thrilled with the way that their athletic director is interpreting the rules around revenue sharing and NIL. This is really in the weeds, so we don't have to spend a lot of time. Yeah, he's kind of the mantra of like, we need to follow the rules, and they're watching some of their competitors do anything but follow the rules of how much you can spend on players. And so I do think they're I do think that's, it's really easy to blame Josh Heupel if Tennessee isn't operating at the highest level when it comes to paying players. I have a hard time blaming Heupel for that, right? If 7 of the 9 SEC teams on your schedule are spending more on their rosters than you, then it's hard to get through that gauntlet of a schedule and come out with success on the other side. So we will see on Tennessee. A fascinating team. We appreciate all the Tennessee folks that tune in and watch, but it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. Notre Dame. Tom, as the representative of the best conference in college football, we'll let you start with this. Notre Dame, are they a clear-cut number one? They have the best odds to win the national championship next year. A lot of people listing them at number one. Listen, this is conjecture on my part. I think that they're a team that could have competed with both teams in the national championship last year. I'm not saying that they definitively deserve to be in over anybody. I'm not saying that they would have been in the national championship game. Obviously, their path would have included a Miami or Indiana. And so I'm not saying they win that, but I do think they were playing some pretty good football at the end of the year. And I think they would have competed pretty well. And they bring a lot of that team back next year. And CJ Carr is somebody that people are excited about. Are they your clear-cut number one, or what are your thoughts here?
I mean, I thought the SEC were the kings of the hypothetical victory.
Oh, my God.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is they're a quasi-SEC member.
Whew, it's been a fun ride for Notre Dame. I look at a handful of teams that I would be like, you could make an argument to me that they should be number one. Like, I hate the preseason rankings, but like, who's the best team entering 2026? I would hear an argument for Indiana, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Would you do Miami?
I think Mensa with Miami, yeah, like obviously that D-line is going to be tough to replace, sure. But I think you could put them like kind of on the outside looking in. Notre Dame, like, yeah, for them to make the college football playoff, I think it's if they're any lower than 12, they're not an automatic lock. So you get contractually, they manage to get themselves in there. And then ironically, considering I'm representing the greatest conference in college football, the Big Ten, they essentially kind of play a Big Ten schedule this year in that they open with Wisconsin at Lambeau Field, which should be a fun visual as part of the Shamrock series. And then they'll be against Michigan State at home, at Purdue, and then you get into the meat of their ACC schedule the rest of the way. We've got North Carolina, Stanford, BYU. I don't think that's a lock because that is a road game in Provo. You'll play at a road game, against Navy at Gillette Stadium, a neutral site. So that should be an intriguing situation. But you'll play Miami at home, which is positive for them. But then you're playing Boston College at home, you're hosting SMU, and then you're at Syracuse to end the year. In my opinion, the Miami and BYU games are the only two on that schedule that give me pause as someone looking reasonably at this team is like, hey, they could potentially lose those games as easily as they could potentially win those games. So you're looking anywhere from 12-0 to 10-2, which realistically, yeah, they should be able to get into the college football playoff. But it's not the strongest schedule ever created by any means. In terms of their ability to win 4 consecutive games or even 3 consecutive games in the college football playoff, it remains to be seen with me. I really was encouraged by Carr's production. Like, you're losing Jeremiah Love, so that's nothing small. Their offensive line took hits in last year's transfer portal cycle. Some of those guys wound up on the eventual national champions, the Indiana Hoosiers. So they need to replace some pieces there. I've never been completely enamored by their wide receiver core or anything like that. Like, they do the job. It's a little better than what Penn State has fielded for years. It's like guys that are good, but nobody that's really in the echelon of a Jeremiah Smith. Defensively, they continue to be sound. They're going to have pieces to replace from this past year. And they had defensive issues, obviously, throughout the season in select games. So I don't think I'm giving them a lock for the college football playoff. And if we've learned anything over the last few years, especially with the playoff model, is that parity's king. I think I ripped off, 6 teams there, TJ, that I think could credibly be in the hunt for the national championship. So I think they'll be in that conversation. But like, to say that they're clearly the number one, no, I push back on that.
Now, I have been probably the biggest pro, let's make fun of Notre Dame for saying that they belong in the college football playoff, and you have 2 losses, and naturally one of those losses to a team that was ranked behind you the entire time. So it's still, now that the season's over, again, we're looking towards 2026. If you have Notre Dame at number 1, I'm not going to push back. I don't think that they would be my number 1, but I won't push back. And there's 5 main elements I look at for a team whenever they're returning, going into the next season, on what I expect them to have. You want me to consider you for that conversation. Number 1, do you return your starting quarterback? Number 2, what is the retention of your coaching staff? Number 3, what does your schedule look like? Number 4, what is your recruiting rankings and your transfer portal rankings? And number 5, how much do you have in terms of continuity returning to the roster in general? They check off all 5 boxes at a high-end level. CJ Carr is, in my opinion, a top 5 returning roster. They have a top 6 returning roster in college football, in my opinion. You look at their schedule. Whether or not we want to call it easy or a cupcake or whatever the hell it is, sorry, it is. It's a cupcake schedule, but you shouldn't have to apologize for that when you end up getting this schedule. You're handed what you're handed. That's kind of it. You return both your your offense coordinator and Mike Denbrock, and your defense coordinator. Marcus Freeman didn't go anywhere. And I like the depth of this team that's going to take a bigger role this offseason. They finished number 9 in the transfer portal rankings. They finished number 5 in the recruiting rankings. They have crossed off every single box of what makes you wonder if they should belong in that conversation for the number 1 spot. Now, are they my number 1? No, not at all. They're number 3 for me. But I can't argue with you and say, you look at what they return. You look at who they have at quarterback, what you expect him to be next season, and what he's going to have to be, because you don't have Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love back, and you are trusting a couple of younger running backs to take a bigger role. But you also throw in, I think, a very solid overall roster. I think you have a very solid receiving room. On top of that, you also have, again, a very relaxed schedule. One to where you should say, okay, if you lose to Miami, not the end-all be-all, so long as you beat BYU, you should be inside of the top 10. You should be inside the top 8. Nobody will complain if you lose to Miami. Or if you lose to BYU and you beat Miami in November. Nobody should be complaining about that either. So, add it all together, Notre Dame has put, I think, a good foundation in place to say, yep, we're going to be in the college football playoff next year, whether or not you think we belong because of what our rankings are and what our schedule is. We're going to be in, and if you let us play up to our standard like we did this past season, get the hell out of our way, because we're going to be punching our ticket to the national championship. I think it's very plausible that they could absolutely be in that conversation.
I think when you look at Vegas odds, you're thinking about who has the, and this far out, right? You're looking at what team has the path of least resistance, right? Ohio State is going to be super talented. They may be the most talented team in the country next year. They also play Indiana, Penn State, Michigan, at Texas. Like, it's not unthinkable that Ohio State could finish 9-3 and not make the playoff, right? And then you look at any SEC team, right? Same argument. We all think Texas is going to be really good. It's not implausible to think that they could lose the Red River this year, that they could lose to some of the better teams on their schedule, a Texas Tech or Texas A&M, or the Ohio State that we just mentioned. And so I think when you look at Notre Dame, the reason their odds are so high is because they do have the path of least resistance. Like it would, I don't know that it would shock us, but I think it would surprise us if they finished any worse than 10-2. It would probably even surprise us to some degree if they lost to both BYU and Miami. And so Notre Dame, to me, is one of the biggest locks to get into the college football playoff. Miami might actually be second. Miami, listen, if you had to pick 3 teams right now that are your locks for the college football playoff, I think my 3 would be Notre Dame, Texas Tech, and Miami because it's the path of least resistance.
It's the exact same for me.
Yeah, I think those are the teams that I would bet on today. And you probably can't even get very good odds on Miami and Texas Tech and Notre Dame to go to the playoff. You know, and college football is weird. One of those teams may not make it, but they're the most sure things to me. You know, Georgia might be next, Indiana, somewhere of those. But it's not unthinkable to think that Indiana could regress just a tad. You know, it's not unthinkable that Georgia could, for the first time in forever, miss a playoff. So I do think Notre Dame's going to be really good. I don't know that they're a clear-cut number 1 to me, but they're a clear-cut top 5.
Listen, the important thing is if you can name 7 teams that have a better roster than Notre Dame, then by goodness, you're in a hypothetical Notre Dame fan argument. God. By the way, careful with the term Ravage Tour in 2026, buddy. Good God, especially at Notre Dame.
To be fair, you can't say it's a Ravage Tour when you look at that.
That's a horrible decision, but man, like there's a lot of stuff out there. You don't want to be in that.
To be fair, in the comment section to MJ the Great 202. Right. Can you name 7 teams better? Because I can't. I can
name 6. I can name 6, but then it's like, what's this innocuous argument we're having with an idiot Notre Dame fan?
Oh my God,
Tom's gonna get us in so much trouble.
This is what SEC fans do. This is what Notre Dame fans do. It's like, how can I move the goalpost to confirm the flimsy argument that I'm trying to build right now in all these hypothetical, fantastical situations? And it's like, yeah, and here's the other possibility. Say BYU's not very good next year. Say the Mensa experiment doesn't work out that well. Say Notre Dame goes 12-0 against what on paper, outside of Miami and BYU, is a pretty
But what if Wisconsin ends up going 11-1 too? We could throw that in.
Right. There's a million what ifs. It's February 9th. The amount of things that could happen could be absolutely insane. Hopefully CJ Carr plays the whole season. There's a million things that could happen, but I don't see them winning the national title in 2026, 2027. No.
If you were to say right now, I would agree with you, but that doesn't mean that they can't. I think is the best way to put it. No. They could.
Go check out the Sleeper app before we get in trouble. Use our code CFA for a 100% match up to $100. You can, well, there's no more football, but you can college basketball, NBA, NHL. There's no Olympics on there. I know we talked about them earlier. The World Cup is coming soon. Soccer is definitely on there. So go check out the Sleeper app. Again, our code is CFA for a 100% match up to $100. We appreciate them for their support. All right. ESPN put out their projected college football playoff 12-team bracket for next year. We're going to go through this 1 through 12, and I want you to give me, we just talked about, Notre Dame a lock, this team a lock, that team a lock. We'll go around the horn on all 12 of these. This is kind of like a wild card. And I want you to tell me the percent that you think this team is a lock. So we'll do this 12 times. The percent that you think this team is a lock, and if so, what seed are you giving them here on February 9th, 2026? Okay. If you're not putting them in the playoff, I want to know what their so they won't have a seed. I want to know what their record is.
Okay.
From the hip, we don't have to look up schedules or anything like that. But let's roll. Indiana, number 1 overall seed. We'll go Cole first, then Tom, then me.
Are you saying that I believe, like, the percentage they'll be the number 1 seed, or where?
No, percentage that they're a lock, and then what your seed for them would be.
I'd go 90%. I like what they bring in Josh Hoover and Nick Marsh. I like what they brought in with AJ Harris. They brought in another really good quarterback coach in Tino Sinceri. So I'll go 90%. I'm going to be bold and say the 4 seed. I think that they will have a loss in the regular season. They won't win the Big Ten.
Yeah, their regular season's a little challenging within the Big Ten. And I think one thing everybody was pointing towards was, well, there's a lot of guys that were holdovers from JMU, older players, that sort of thing. Do they have that same magic this coming year? So I think they're going to be tested. But yeah, I think 4 is a safe floor to give Indiana this coming season. I still like them better than I like Ohio State coming into this year. Yeah, say like 80%, and I think 4 is the lowest. Yeah.
I'm going to go slightly lower, and I'm going to go 75%. So still kind of in line. I want to go a little lower with my seed because their schedule is just murderer's row, and I could see them taking 2 losses, but avoiding the Big Ten championship game where they can't win or lose by not playing it. I'm going to go with a lower seed. I'm going to go 6.
Okay.
I'm going to say they don't get the top 4, but they should be in. But that schedule is absolutely brutal, and I want to see how it all fits together. Number 2, Georgia.
Yeah, until Kirby Smart goes away, I think this is a solid at least 90 every single year. Yeah. Gunnar Stockton's back. I like what they have as terms of young up-and-coming talent. I'm going to leave them at the 2 spot, too. I think that, once again, until proven otherwise, they are going to win the SEC.
They're another one that it's like, I'd say the floor feels like 4, but my gut says 1. I think the floor is 4 because I'm like, we just don't know what LSU could ultimately yield in 2026. Like, does Lane literally flip the switch in 1 year? It's possible. I don't know if it'll actually happen. But yeah, I think the 90%, I'll take them at number 1.
Yeah, I'll take 90 here as well. I think their schedule sets up pretty nice. I know they have the Georgia Tech game, but they don't play anybody else outside of conference. And I think their conference schedule sets up pretty well too. They do have to go to Bryant-Denny, but they don't play Texas. They play Oklahoma at home. I like them to be. I'll go with the 2 seed here because I do think they pick up a loss somewhere, but then win the SEC and finish as the 2 seed. But yeah, 95% to make it to the playoff.
By the way, if your argument is that Notre Dame's the last team to beat Indiana in 2024, and thus that's an indicator that your program will be good in 2026, I stand by my previous comment. I know we're not supposed to call people idiots, but good God, man, you're just burying yourself 6 feet under at a time. Holy crap. Oh, we beat them with a completely different roster and personnel. That surely means we're better than them. Idiots. Good God. Completely different list of human beings played the game. You can't compare it to a future list of human beings.
Tom, it's the same thing. It's the same.
What are we even doing?
Number 3, Texas Tech. I'll start on this one. I'll go 87%. It would shock me if they don't make the playoff. Their schedule is complete cake. Actually, I'll take that up, 93%. And I think they'll be the 4 seed. They have them as the 3 here. I'll go 4 on this one.
I think that because of they embarrassed themselves in the first round of the playoffs, somehow, some way, they will let the Big 12 not be out and be another one and done for the second straight year. So I'll put them at the 5 seed, but I will put them in at 95%. Their schedule is a breeze on paper, and they once again killed it in the portal.
90%. I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say 6 because I still think there's a world, man. Like LSU is kind of that X factor. Not that nobody's considering them, but still, like, you just don't know how this is going to go. So if anything, I'm saying Ohio State, Indiana, LSU, Georgia, and maybe even Texas as those teams of like, hey, we all competed for our respective conference championship. Shoot, if Texas were to beat Ohio State and then somehow get through and be relatively unscathed, yeah, give me Tech at 6.
They've got Notre Dame at 4. I'll go Notre Dame at like 95% to make the playoff. I think their schedule is pretty cake. And I think that because of what happened last year and the new contractual obligations that exist, I think that even at 10-2 with losses at BYU and Miami, they will still make it to not get left out a second year. I'd be pretty surprised if they did back-to-back years. So Notre Dame, yeah, I think they're in. I think they go. It's hard to predict undefeated teams. I think they go 11-1, so that's probably good for, I don't know, 5th or 6th, somewhere in there.
Notre Dame 100% will be in the college football playoff next year. All right, fine. To be fair, 99.9% in the playoff. That way you just leave that 0.1% shot open. I'm going to put them as the 7 seed because I think they go 11-1.
I agree with that. Yeah, I'll say 95% because you just never know what can possibly happen. But 11-1 is very practical. They could go undefeated this upcoming season. They
Yep.
could be 10-2, anywhere in that realm.
5 seed USC from Southern Cal, not Shane Beamer's team. Cole.
I'll go 50%. Again, a lot of these teams that we're talking about, like in that range, I think that I do think that bringing back Jaden Mayala is awesome. I think that's a good fit. Year 3 underneath Lincoln Riley will be massive. I like some of their young receivers. I like their running back room. I like their offensive line. The hire of Gary Patterson and defense coordinator, extremely underrated. And I think that they killed it by bringing in Terrell Anderson and getting the Iowa State defensive back. But I still just think that there's this level of uncertainty when it comes to a Lincoln Riley-led roster. So I'm going to have them go 9-3, and they're going to be on the outside looking in.
I agree, 50-50. I feel like this is the end of Lincoln Riley at USC. I feel like the writing's been on the wall for a little while. I don't know if Gary Patterson was hired to be like, hey, just in case we fire Lincoln Riley, you can take over or something like that. So, and their schedule's tough as well. I don't think they're a lock for the playoff at all.
Yeah, I'll go slightly under. I'll go 40%. And yeah, I'm going to guess 9-3 just on the outside looking in. Their schedule's not easy. I think they have a tough road. So yeah, I'll go. It's more likely that they don't make it than they do. Number 6, Texas A&M. I'll start this one. I'm going to say they regress a little bit. I'm going to go 40% here too. And I'll say 9-3, although I want to make the 8-4 joke because that's just fun. But their schedule's not easy. They play Oklahoma and Texas. They have a game in Baton Rouge and in Tuscaloosa. And they play Tennessee, who, we'll see what happens with Aguilar. They got to go to Missouri, to South Carolina. Like, their schedule is not easy by any means. Arizona State out of conference. So, yeah, I think I'm going 9-3 just on the outside looking in.
30%, Texas 8-4 goes back to being Texas 8-4, and I will say that they go 8-4.
25%. Yeah, 8-4 is sounding plausible.
I can count 4 losses. I can count also 10 wins.
Right.
But I can count 4 losses.
Do we feel like Marcel Reed is prepared to make like a big leap, or it's going to be more of the same?
Can I just say this because I know there will be all the fans who say, oh, Cole used to cover A&M, so he hates on them all the time. You have a new offensive coordinator in Holman Wiggins. Like, that's the thing that you have to throw into the conversation. It's also a non-stable offensive line. And while you did return Mario Craver and bring in Isaiah Horton, you also got to ask yourself, what'd you do at the tight end position? What'd you do at the running back position to replace the loss of Lavian Moss? Because I know that you still have Reuben Owens and you have the Jamarian Morrow back, but I still think you need some veteranship. And I like some of the offensive linemen you brought on in, but I also don't like some of the offensive linemen you brought on in. There's a reason they hit the portal to begin with. So it's all kind of a toss-up right now. And if you told me how I feel about where they're going to ask Marcel Reed to do a little bit more, it's easy to say that with a new offensive coordinator, you take a step back. It just is. We've seen it before, and we'll see it constantly again and again.
Number 7, Ohio State. Tom, start us out on this one.
I'm so fascinated to see what Jeremiah Smith's last year looks like. And especially, like, Julian Sand looked good this year. I was glad he didn't win the Heisman because I did not think he was the best player in the country, but I thought he was one of the better players on a very good team. There are a lot of pieces from that defense that are going off to the National Football League. Reese and Downs being the 2 biggest ones that are probably going to be top 10 picks this upcoming year. But we've always seen how Ohio State is able to replenish very quickly under Ryan Day, Matt Patricia on defense, Arthur Smith on offense. There's some changes happening there, but they seem to just kind of roll right along. I still put them at like 75% to make the college football playoff, and even that feels a tad disrespectful because I kind of think we're going to get a rematch of the Big Ten championship that we saw this past year between Indiana and Ohio State. So give me 75%. Like, I could see them as the 2 or the 3.
I will go 70%. I do think that they are going to have a breakout year defensively. I think that they are going to have a still solid year offensively. Julian Sand and Jeremiah Smith both could be in New York. I think that their schedule is going to put them at 10-2, and they're going to be the 6th seed as of right now.
Yeah, I think that Texas game is obviously massive for so many reasons. I am not at a point where I can see them dropping just a ton of Big Ten games. I could see them dropping 2, but more than that would surprise me. So that Texas game could be, that Texas game against, could be what for Ohio State, what it was for the Longhorns last year. A loss there could be pretty detrimental and be your third one that kind of keeps you out. But I'll go a little bit higher. I'll go like 85%. They're not quite in Georgia territory, but I still think they are a class above most of the league. And so I'll say 85%. Give me, I don't know. I don't think, maybe I haven't had a 3 seed yet. So I'll go 3 seed. Number 8, Miami.
I'll go first. 95.5%. I'm sorry. I love Darian Mensah. I'm not going to get off of this. That's my Heisman pick as of this moment. That is the guy who I think is going to lead Miami to potentially a undefeated season. I'll go. They finish 11-1. They win the conference. They get the 6th seed though.
Any thoughts about Louisville jumping into that conference?
That's the only one that I'm looking at right now and going, maybe that could be a little bit too close for comfort.
Yeah. I like them at like 75% and like the 5 seed.
Their schedule sets up really, really nice. They get Florida State at home. Not that I think Florida State will be great by any means. They avoid a trip to Blacksburg, and they get that game at home. They do have to go on the road and play Clemson and Notre Dame. Out of conference, outside of that Notre Dame game, they don't play anybody. And so I would be really surprised. They have a West Coast trip, but that's on a Friday night in Stanford to start the year. I think that sets up really well for them to not have that in the middle of the season. You kind of get that early and out of the way. Schedule sets up really nice. This would be the year that I think they finally go to Charlotte and win the thing. I'm going to go like 95%. I would be pretty surprised if Miami didn't make the playoff based on what their schedule looks like and what they bring back and how they may have one of the better quarterbacks in college football playing for them. So 95%. I'll say they do pick up a loss somewhere, but they win the ACC. So yeah, I think the Canes could. I think they're the way they played last year their schedule kind of sucks. So maybe they might not be ranked as high. Yeah, I'll go. They get the 4 seed. I'll say they make them top 4. Oregon, number 9.
I'm going to go 95%. I like Dante Moore. I like what they bring back offensively. I like what they have in the run game. I liked what they brought in on the offensive line. I think they're going to have one of, if not the best defense in the NFL. The college football. And I'll go a step further. As of right now, that'd be my 1 seed. I think they win the Big Ten.
Their schedule it's pretty friendly. You're at USC, at Ohio State. You do play Michigan. You do play Washington. It's pretty friendly. Man, I could see a maximum 3 losses. So for that, I'm like, yeah, I'll give them 80% to make the playoff. I still look at the schedule and think like, this could be 11-1, 10-2. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will go, 80%, 80, 85, somewhere in there. They could very well be back in Indy for the Big Ten championship. And then if you win that, you're a top 4 seed. If you lose it, you're probably somewhere between 6 and 8, right? So I think that I'll give them the 7 seed. I'll say that that'd be too low. Yeah, well, you do get penalized if you lose a conference championship game unless your name's Alabama. So yeah, maybe I'll drop them down to the 9. But they do get in. No, they won't drop that far. So yeah, 7 or 8, somewhere in there. Number 10, Texas. Texas low here. Now they do have a tough schedule, but Texas with a low seeding here, according to ESPN. Cole, SEC.
I still feel like with Arch Manning coming on back in, what they bring in with Cam Coleman, got to prove it this year. You go out and you hire Coach Boone to be your new defense coordinator. What you got with Colin Simmons, what you have with another top 5 recruiting class, what you have with the number 1 recruiting class of last season. I'm going to say 85%, and I'm going to put them as the number 3 seed.
The Ohio State game is huge, but they avoid Bama and Georgia. Now they do have to go to Baton Rouge.
And they got to go to Knoxville.
And they've got the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
So those are tough.
Texas A&M. So they still have 4 games.
Still have tough games. But man, I'm going to go 75% to make the playoffs. I think they're the 6th seed.
I think it's 50-50 they even make the playoff.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ohio State week 2, that's a coin flip. To your point about at Knoxville, always competitive. Red River, bizarro.
Always just a cluster.
Bizarro world. Ole Miss should be a challenge. At LSU will certainly be a challenge. At Texas A&M is never easy. Like, this could be a team that scores a ton of points and maybe disappoints defensively, even though this year they were very strong defensively. Are they able to continue that momentum into this upcoming season? I could see that. Are they a complete team? Remains to be seen, but there's 4 to 5 losable games on that schedule. So I think it's 50-50 Texas even makes the playoff.
Number 11, here's where we go off the rails a little bit. Oklahoma State, with Mestamaker coming in, along with his coach, Eric Morris from North Texas.
I think we agree that it's Texas Tech versus the field when it comes to the Big 12, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, who's with them in contention for 2? Like, it's probably BYU again. So now you're looking at, like, even if Oklahoma State goes absolutely crazy this upcoming season, they wind up as the 3rd seed. I think they're on the outside looking in. 3rd seed within the Big 12, excuse me. But they've got Oregon on the schedule. And then outside of that, like, their Big 12 schedule is competitive, I would say. Like, it's just so hard to tell. Like, a lot of these teams have changed drastically this offseason. Man, like Iowa State is a perfect example. What are you getting out of the Cyclones this year now that Matt Campbell and 20 some odd players have left? Kansas State is going through change. Texas Tech should be competitive. Arizona State is going through change. Kansas, Colorado, Houston, UCF, West Virginia. Like, there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of winnable games in there, but I don't think they're making the playoff.
I'll go
percentage
0. I'd say 0 because unless you are the 2 best teams in the Big 12, those are the only ones that really have a chance, it seems like.
Well, the problem is that if we see Oklahoma State make the college football playoff in year 1 underneath Eric Morris, we all have to admit that North Texas was good enough to be in the college football playoff last season because it's literally just North Texas's roster going up from Debt to Stillwater and it's just changing logos. I go 10% because if I do think that, you are right, BYU is going to be the 1 team, but I look at another team in Houston. I love what they did in the portal this offseason. They came off a 10-3 record. I think that they're going to be extremely competitive next year. And that might be the deciding factor of which one of these 2 is either that 3rd team or that last team into Arlington. So I'll go 10%.
I'll go 1%. Yeah, they need to upset Oregon or Texas Tech to make it to me. I guess the situation exists where, you know, they beat Texas Tech to make the Big 12 championship, and that's how somehow they get in. But I don't see them upsetting either one of those teams. I guess they could get in the Big 12 championship if BYU had 2 conference losses and that was their only conference loss. But am I confident that they're going to win a game, on the road at Kansas State or on the road at Arizona State or, even on the road in Morgantown, which is sometimes a tough place to play in week 3? No, I'm not. So yeah, I don't like Oklahoma State here. If I had to pick a team and I wanted to go from another conference, I would go with Louisville or BYU to make it here as opposed to Oklahoma State. Like, if I was trying to be trendy, I would not have gone with Oklahoma State, but ESPN did. So very good. And then our group of 5 team. Let's hope we only have one group of 5 team in this year. Hawaii at number 12.
It's so interesting because of, like, you look at Hawaii's returning roster. Their quarterback is back next season, but their star wide receiver is gone. A lot of the other players are gone, but they're in the Mountain West, which means we just saw a Mountain West team 2 years ago go from Boise State. We were having conversations about UNLV getting on in. I think it'd be fun to see Hawaii go to the play. I think it'd be fun. Timmy Chang, a couple years in, bringing his program back to national lore, probably having the best team since, what's his name? Colt Brennan was running the sidelines.
Yes. June Jones.
You would have Alejado, Micah Alejado getting another year to be able to throw for over 3,100 yards. I'll throw a 1% shot on it because I think that if you're a G5 program, you get a 1% shot. But you have games against Arizona State and Stanford are your 2 Power 4 conference games. So it's like,
gotta have them.
You gotta have them, but like at the same time, I think that you can have them. I think that's kind of the beauty in it is that you could win those ones.
I also give some credit to what Jason Eck was able to do with New Mexico this year. Different casts in 2026 still, but he's a proven winner everywhere he's gone. So I'm curious to see New Mexico in that fight as well. Hawaii makes sense. Like I'd give 1% to like 1% to Hawaii, 1% to New Mexico. I would also give a little shred of credit to Northern Illinois joining the conference football only in 2026. Like there's Mountain West is going to be competitive. I'm curious to see where that one goes, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, 1% here. I don't know. Like I think you could give it to a bunch of teams, and you could think there's a lot of teams that may compete for this. It would surprise me if Hawaii was able to get it done, but it's more just of a who's left standing, who emerges. You know, It always kind of comes out of nowhere. If you have to pick a group, I mean, I'm still very much on the. I'd like to see Dan Mullen make it before UF makes it. So UNLV would be the team that I root for. USF would be fun with Brian Hartline. Obviously, I went to Liberty, so they'd be fun. But yeah, I'm not buying the Hawaii hype. If Brendan was there, maybe, but not today. Yeah. Who would be your group of 5 team? If you could pick any one group of 5 team to put in, who would you pick? Not like who would you bet on, but like you get to place a team in.
That's a great question.
I mean, I think I'm going Liberty. I think it's too much for me to not pick them, but I'll go Liberty.
You know what I'm going to do? Because if he's back in the place where he was always meant to be, give me something about Billy running it back with the Dukes.
Dude, I would be cool with that. That'd be good.
Give me something about Billy.
That's actually Billy. That'd be better than Mullen. I take it back.
Give me something about Billy. Why not?
I would say for America, Navy.
Yeah.
Just it should not be this way, but if the winner of Army Navy, if somehow things worked out that is like, hey, this kind of is a play-in game all of a sudden, and if Navy were to win that and find themselves in the playoffs, I mean, it'd be a feel-good story for like a quarter.
Well, never forget, guys, Navy would have to win the American Conference, or Army would have to win the American Conference before they played in the Army-Navy game.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, you literally would have to leave that open for interpretation if they get into the college football playoff.
I think they would move. I thought I saw something on this a couple years ago when they were in competition. Like they said they would delay it. Didn't they say they would delay the actual like picks?
I don't remember
after that game. I mean, it's been like 3 years or something, but Navy was like in contention to maybe be that group of 5 representative. And they said they would delay they would wait for the results of that game before they announced it. So
there's a world where you could just be like, this is not, this is an outlier, but at the same time showing tremendous respect for the game. They're like, yeah, we're going to wait. This is one of the most important college football games.
Yeah. Let's just move. Yeah. Let's just move the college football playoff to the day after the Super Bowl. Let's continue to move it back. Like, hey, we'll announce it later. We'll delay everything and we'll play this after the Super Bowl next year.
Middle of March. That's when we'll play.
Am I right? The national title is January 25th.
I think it's 26. 26, I thought. Something like that.
And the don't forget the Super Bowl next year is on Valentine's Day.
We should just keep moving stuff back and back and back. Let's play everything. Let's truly just make it a real March Madness. Let's have everything in March. Super Bowl, national championship, NCAA tournament, play the World Cup again next year. Give me the Olympics, just everything in March. Let's make it like truly a month of madness where I just sleep on the couch the entire month.
So. I'm fine with that. All over the office.
The Power 2 here on College Football Addiction. Thank you guys for hanging out today. We will be back. I don't know when, but make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss it. Appreciate you guys, as always, for hanging out. Talk to you soon.